appears that billionaire Jeff Bezos has once again stepped in to block criticism of President Trump's ally, Elon Musk. So here are the details, right? So there's a pro-democracy group called Common Cause, and they recently told The Hill that they had struck a deal with the Washington Post last week to run an ad on Tuesday. So this would be a wrap that covers the both front and back pages of the newspaper that would go out to members of Congress, the Pentagon, and the White House. Editions with the wrap, which showed this, along with this, would have went out to those aforementioned groups. Now, funding for the ad was provided by the Southern Poverty Law Center, and Common Cause said that it collected about 60,000 signatures on a petition protesting against Elon Musk's unelected role in government as a special government employee. So there it is. That wrap, rejected, gone. Now, Common Cause President Virginia Case Solomon said the group submitted the ad's artwork on Tuesday, but were told on Friday that it had been rejected. It's gone. It's gone.
Bing, 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 boom. It's gone.
So why was it rejected in the first place? I mean, certainly it seems provocative, right, to some of the people in power. But I thought that was supposed to be the whole point of journalism, was to hold the powerful accountable. But of course, right, the Washington Post doesn't do that anymore. They haven't done it for a long time. Now they do stenography. And by the way, they do stenography for Republican administrations, stenography for Democratic administrations. And so it really doesn't have anything to do with party. But in this case, what you have here is not just, oh, it's Republicans in charge, so we're going to run cover for them. No, it's, oh, well, here's a billionaire, and an unelected billionaire in a very important position that is dictating basically who to fire in the federal government, even though he's not an elected official, not part of the federal government. And therefore, and by the way, it was only an advisory role. Here's this guy making very important decisions about the federal workforce. And Jeff Bezos is like, don't see anything, don't hear anything. In fact, I'm going to help because it's a takeover of the government by the rich. This is what the wealthiest Americans have been really wanting to do for a long time, just to take direct control, assuming direct control. Okay, for all those who get that reference, gold star. But look, this is why people don't trust corporate media, okay? You know, especially ones owned by billionaires, which all the corporate media is. Okay, I mean, look, I was telling people, hey, watch out for the Washington Post. They've got an establishment bias. They're going to defend the rich. And this is all the way back in 2016 when they did 16 negative articles against Bernie Sanders in like 16 hours. Okay, it was just a massive amount of, oh, we got to stop Bernie. We got to stop him. We got to stop him. He actually threatens us. Okay, yes, Bernie Sanders threatened the billionaires. And so now if you do anything that threatens the billionaires, here comes Washington Post, owned by a billionaire, that is going to say, whoa, 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 no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Watch me. But anyway, this has gone beyond protecting the elites, okay? Because, I mean, when you talk about elites, nobody's more elite than the richest man in the world, okay? And the second richest man in the world, which is Jeff Bezos, okay? And look, what they're trying to do is to ensure that the wealthy, the 1%, take everything. This is class warfare. It is the 99% versus the 1%, except that the 99% doesn't know that we're in a war. Whereas the 1%, very, very acutely, keenly aware of the battle. And so Bezos, sees people targeting Musk and Donald Trump and says, oh, no, not on my watch. We're going to defend you. I know, they just figured out, they've got class solidarity, okay? And look, the writing was on the wall, by the way, when the Post canceled a planned endorsement of Kamala Harris, okay? Who also didn't really threaten the billionaires, but I guess posed too much of a problem because of, the fact that Donald Trump would probably was going to win anyway. Okay, let's be honest about that. And the owner of the Washington Post, Bezos, and a lot of these other billionaires were like, well, Trump's going to win anyway, so why don't we just get in on his good side, okay, and not try to oppose him. And more recently, they also killed a cartoon showing a caricature of Bezos laying bags of money at the feet of Trump for his inauguration because he gave money for that. And then Amazon Prime, of course, gave Melania Trump $40 million for the rights to a documentary. Amazon Prime reportedly shelled out $40 million for the licensing rights to a documentary about First Lady Melania Trump, directed by Brett Ratner. So now getting back to Solomon, who said it was not clear to her why the newspaper made their decision, but it seemed very much to do with the nature of the ad's content and possibly with the political leanings of the Post's owner, the second richest man in the world after Musk himself. So, yeah, definitely. Both men have significant business interests that could be harmed if they run afoul of President Donald Trump, and much to gain, of course, by kissing his ass. Now, Solomon asks, is it because we're critical of what's happening with Elon Musk? Is it only okay to run things in the Post that won't anger the president or won't have him calling Jeff Bezos, asking why this is allowed? Yes and yes. The answer to those questions, right? Now, another Common Cause executive also told The Hill, it just causes concern for us. Are they fearful of Trump's reaction? Also, yes. And look, one of the reasons, by the way, that they do have cause to be concerned is, look, the Associated Press was recently banned from the White House and Air Force One. Why? They refused to call the Gulf of Mexico a name that it certainly is not. It is not the Gulf of America. I don't give a shit what President Dumpster Fire says, okay? I'm not calling it that. All right, I will die on this hill. It is the Gulf of Mexico forever. Viva la Mexico! All right. Now, in addition to that, Musk is calling for the people at CBS's 60 Minutes to be literally thrown in prison. I kid you not. That is clearly a violation of free speech. Okay, literally what the free speech clause in the First Amendment is there to prevent. All right. Trump had been bitching about this, say, oh, they defrauded the public. How so? Because they decided to air different portions of Harris's answer to a question about Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on different days. A transcript of the original interview released by the Federal Communications Commission earlier this month found that both answers were part of the same extended response. So, yeah. Musk, though, was like, 60 Minutes, the biggest liars in the world. They're engaged in deliberate deception to interfere with the last election. They deserve a long prison sentence, he wrote on his Nazi platform. Look, Elon Musk he's either the biggest liar, disingenuous POS, or is a moron of the highest magnitude. Okay, maybe he's both. I don't know. You might talk about deception, right? Dude, you bought a platform, Twitter, right? Turned it into a right-wing hellscape that buries the left and elevates the far right and disinformation. Okay, disinformation. And you called it free speech, by the way. No, that's how's that not considered a total lie? I mean, here's the thing about that, by the way, the free speech thing. You can't even say cisgender on the platform without getting censored. So come on. It also banned journalists that were critical of him from the platform. Okay. So look, Musk is not only a hypocrite, but unfortunately, he is also the most powerful person in the United States. So, yeah. But here's the thing. When all is said and done, Musk is an example of the rot that has existed in our system since Ronald Reagan and the Powell memo, okay? He is the elite. that has bought our politicians, our elections, and our media. Now, he is not the first. He just happens to be the current wealthiest. Seconds is Jeff Bezos, obviously, but you have others. You have Peter Thiel, you have Mark Zuckerberg, you have the Koch brothers, you have the network of shady organizations funded by the Koch brothers, etc. All of that. The real root of evil in this country is allowing the super wealthy to influence our political system. Okay? And I'm talking about both sides here. All right? Certainly, there's a lot of wealthy donors on the Democratic side that have made it so that the Democrats are essentially toothless against the far right because billionaires do better with policies from the right wing. I mean, at least their monetary policies, right? With low taxes, less regulation. And the reason that I say that, that the Democrats have accepted too much dark, money from billionaires is every time you have a progressive fighter that comes onto the scene, they immediately get buried by a flood of big donor money. All right. And sadly, with few exceptions, most of them get crushed. Because if you don't have the money to compete in these elections, what can you do? I mean, why is money so important? Because money helps you get out your message. Okay. Which is also more difficult when you have corporate owned mainstream media. So if you don't have money, and if the corporate media already hates you, you're going to have a harder time winning. Okay. Not unless, of course, you sell out a la John Fetterman, or you manage to gather a huge army of working people giving you $20, $27 at a time. Of course, even then, you end up with outlets like the Washington Post smearing you as like a sexist or something for just trying to give everyone health care and raise taxes on the rich, their donors. So, yeah. But this right here is just another example of the Washington Post, specifically the owner of it, demonstrating their class solidarity. It appears that Elon Musk's non-agency who he swears he doesn't actually have anything to do with. I'm not actually leading this agency. Doge has actually targeted Social Security. Now a former commissioner is warning that this could possibly lead to benefits being interrupted for the 70 plus million people who rely on them. So what's going on here? Well, Musk is claiming that, Social Security, like the rest of the government, is so riddled with fraud and erroneous payments, including, did you know that they were paying 150-year-olds? No, they're not. That's not actually happening. Now, on Monday, the Doge efforts had come to a head, and unfortunately, the former acting commissioner, Michelle King, ended up losing that fight. King, who has held the position of acting commissioner since January and had worked for the government agency for more than 30 years, had stepped down following a dispute about Doge staffers' potentially unlawful access to private taxpayer information. Why do they keep trying to access our private taxpayer information? Really like to know that. The non-government, non-auditors, they wanted access to claimants' medical records, detailed work histories, and detailed family information. That's the kind of stuff that I don't really want big balls to have access to. Okay? Why is that guy? Why is his army of 20-year-old blunderkins trying to get everybody's personal information? They're not auditors. Okay? But the reason that they're doing this, to trying to get this information, is, well, we're trying to claim, we're trying to prove fraud, right? We're trying to prove fraud so that, Elon Musk can shut this whole thing down. Look, on February 11th, Musk wrote on X that he is, quote, 100% certain that the magnitude of fraud in federal entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, etc., exceeds the combined sum of every private scam you've ever heard by far. Really? According to the agency's own Office of the Inspector General, improper payments made by the SSA actually equaled about less than 1% of all total benefits paid. And most of them were made in error, not as a result of fraud. Okay, so let's be honest about that. Okay, uh, again, since it is a federal government program that constantly gets scrutinized, yeah, they're trying to, they have been trying for years to crack down on any fraud or improper payments. Okay. And now, here's the thing: when it comes to, for example, disability, right? I know there's all these claims. Disability is so easy to get. Oh, my back hurts and you get disability. Not at all true whatsoever. It's very, very difficult to get on Social Security. Difficult, time consuming for people who are disabled. Okay. In fact, the reason that it is so difficult is that it's there to try to disincentivize you from actually being able to collect. Okay. Because they put you through so many goddamn hoops. All right. Uh, seriously, though. Now, that said, what about the improper payments then? Well, it turns out a lot of improper payments are due to people who are both working and on Social Security, because Social Security has a program that allows people to do part time work. Okay. Now, sometimes, though, when that happens, because Social Security is incredibly strict when it comes to how much money you can make, it's not about how many hours you put in. No, their determination is you cannot make more than a certain amount of money, and that changes every year. You can't make more than that. If you make one penny over, then you are, considered to be doing substantial gainful activity, and therefore are not considered disabled. And any payments that are made to you after that point are improper. That's what happens. Okay, and so again, there's only so much money you can make. Okay. Now, obviously, for somebody who is disabled but still wants to work and contribute, there's plenty of those people, but they can't handle full time work, or they need special accommodation that is not really easy or good for employers to be able to do, because it's very, very difficult for people who are disabled to even get work, to be able to work. And a lot of people ended up getting, low paying positions, right? Having to take jobs at, or part-time jobs, or low paying jobs. Now that does allow them to work, make a little bit of money on the side, and collect benefits. And look, the reason that a lot of them choose to do that is because, again, they want to feel useful. And secondly, how much they get from Social Security disability is not very much. It's an average of about $1,400 a month. So it pretty much is poverty wages here. Okay. And again, there are very rigorous standards in place for a person to prove that they are disabled enough to get Social Security. Now, again, where the improper payments happen, they might actually make too much in 1 month. Okay. Accidentally, maybe they get too many hours, or if they have to stay over or something, right? And boom, suddenly improper payments, and they might not even realize that they have done it. That is not fraud. That is an error. Even so, when that happens, beneficiaries are forced to pay back that money, even if they are still proven to be disabled. Okay? So again, there are systems in place. That's exactly, literally how it works. Okay? And you can look it up. You can fact check me, all right? In fact, I encourage it. But let's get to Martin O'Malley, all right? The Social Security Commissioner under the Biden administration, who said this, quote, "At this rate, they," meaning Doge, "will break it, and they will break it fast. And there will be an interruption of benefits." Wow. So, what do you mean break it? How are they going to break it? Well, they've already started, all right? You had that former Commissioner King that left, and then they put a new commissioner. This is Acting Commissioner Leland Dudick, right? Who was basically a manager previously in charge of Social Security's anti-fraud office. You would think, oh, good, he can root out the fraud, right? I don't know about that. Okay, maybe, but he he's running the entire agency, which he might not have the qualifications to be able to do. Dudek will head up the SSA until Frank Bisignano, Trump's nominee, is confirmed by the Senate. So why do I have questions about his capabilities, right? Well, it's because he was picked over others who had more experience. In fact, here's what O'Malley said. It's a shame that the chilling effect that it has to disregard 120 senior executive service people to pick an acting commissioner that is not in the senior executive service sends a message that professional people should leave that beleaguered public agency. So they're not really picking on, merit, okay? From what I can see right now, they're just picking the people that would go along with Donald Trump's, purges and his policy, which again is to back up Elon Musk and everything he says. And Musk is on this, the entire government's corrupt. We need to shut this down, delete this agency, get rid of that, fire these people, et cetera, et cetera. It is the mass privatization of our government. He is dismantling it, taking it apart, and then going to try to sell off the pieces. Okay? Not good. Not good at all. Now, Musk, of course, disputes that. He claims, no, we're just auditing. That's it. We're just trying to find the fraud. Really, where are the auditors? Is any of your team experienced auditors? No, they're not. In fact, look, the stuff that's come out has been grossly misinterpreted, right? To try to show the appearance of fraud. Let's take a spreadsheets, for example, right? That claim that more than 10 million people collecting benefits are listed as being above the age of 100. Oh my God, you got 10 million people who claim to be over 100. Even there's a guy that's 360 to 369 years of age. This is obvious fraud. He said, quote, maybe Twilight is real and there are a lot of vampires collecting Social Security. Look, the only vampire here is Elon Musk, all right, with his massive amounts of government contracts, all right, sucking the taxpayer dry. But anyway, no, the figures added up to be considerably more than the number of beneficiaries paid by the Social Security Administration every month. So his little spreadsheet was like showing more people collecting benefits than the reality, right? than the agency is actually paying out, which is around 73 million as of January this year. It's also higher than the total U.S. population, which was around 341 million at the time of the last census. No, there's not that much fraud, okay? Less than 1%, all right? And by the way, as I already mentioned, it's not even fraud. It's just improper payments, most of them by mistake. So, no, not even 1% fraud. Now, the U.S., by the way, getting back to his fuzzy math, okay, we have roughly 100,000 centenarians, according to the Pew Research Center, none of which have exceeded the age of 114. Okay, so no, we're not just paying 10 million people over the age of 100, dead people. That's not happening. His math ain't mathin', okay? And that's either because he doesn't know what he's doing, or the other possibility is that he knows exactly what he's doing and is using allegations of fraud as a preface to try to rob Social Security and to steal our personal data. And that is a problem, okay? Now, the information, according to Nancy Altman, president of Social Security Works, says the information collected and securely held by the SSA is highly sensitive. They have data on everyone who has a Social Security number, which is virtually all Americans, everyone who has Medicare, and every low-income American who has applied for Social Security's mean-tested companion program, Supplemental Security Income. Yeah, and so that's the kind of stuff that he has access to, that he should not. Nobody asked him to have that data, okay? Because he ain't auditing, because he's not an auditor, and neither of his is any of his team, okay? It really, really concerns me that he has all that personal data, and it also concerns me that so many Republicans have their heads so far shoved up Musk's ass that they're totally okay with this, right? With this unelected billionaire coming in and doing God knows what with our data while lying, openly lying about one of the most successful and helpful and functional and just one of the best social programs that the United States has ever had. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of the few Democrats that's actually attempting to fight against the Trump administration. In fact, she recently picked a fight with Donald Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, who is now threatening to have the Department of Justice investigate her. For what? Who knows? I'm sure they'll come up with something.
She wants to tell these people how to evade arrest, how to evade lice. And we still got child predators we're looking for in New York in her district. People convicted of child sex crimes, people who've been convicted of rape.
When does it cross a line into aiding and abetting law breaking? Would it have to have direct involvement by her in helping people to evade ICE?
That's exactly the question I posed to the Deputy Attorney General. I asked him to look into it. I says, I know through my career, someone steps in front of you, in between you and the person you're arresting or repeating. Yeah, that's a violation. But at what point do you cross the line on saying you're educating people versus you're teaching them how to evade ICE arrest? So I've asked that question to the Department of Justice for clear guidance so I can share that with the officers of ICE. And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney, I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that. But because impediment is impediment, in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that. But again, if we have to take every federal dollar out of the city, we'll do it. I mean, we're done.
Oh, we got people convicted of rape, and she's helping those people. What? I mean, we do have people that have been convicted of rape. One of them happens to be in the White House right now. Oh, I'm sorry, not rape. That's sexual abuse. My bad. But look, I mean, there's a lot of BS fear mongering from Homan about immigrants, right? How does that even work on people? I have no idea. I mean, when you look at crime statistics, clearly undocumented immigrants actually commit far less crimes than American citizens. But speaking of sex crimes specifically, you got Republicans and members of the church who keep getting caught doing sex crimes. Oops, even some of the now pardoned Capitol rioters have their own issues with, sex crimes. Specifically going after underage girls, children. So yeah. But anyway, okay, AOC. Oh my God, she's she breaking the law by what? Telling immigrants their rights, sharing literally the Constitution with people. And I'm talking about the Fourth Amendment, which prohibits unreasonable search and seizure. Turns out you actually have to follow due process. Okay, but when you're telling when telling other people about their rights under the Constitution is considered a crime, maybe the real criminals are law enforcement. Okay, now she hit back at that saying, go ahead, let the people see you for what you are in sharing this interview. And what exactly is Tom Homan? He's an authoritarian. This guy's heading up the brown shirts. If this were 1930s Germany, this Tom Homan would be the guy hunting down the Jews. Okay? Seriously. And if we are talking about the law, remember, the courts have held that all law enforcement, including ICE, can only enter private property and employee-only business areas with permission or with a valid search warrant signed by a judge. And you also have to have probable cause to arrest. Once again, this is called due process, which it states on ICE's own website, while claiming that the agency is only focused on removing criminals and public safety threats. But as we've seen, actually about less than half of those caught up in these ICE raids actually have, criminal records. Okay, they don't. So what they're doing is they're going after the low hanging fruit. Okay, you're going after undocumented people who are just going to work, right? And so you do notice how they have been raiding workplaces and not drug dens. Okay, these people are working. Okay, they're making money for their families. They're paying taxes. Yes, they do pay taxes, and the vast majority are not criminals, and they're not dangerous. Which is unlike, of course, members of the Trump administration who don't pay their taxes, and some of them might be criminals. Yeah. Now, that said, Homan was not happy about AOC hitting back. In fact, after that Ingram Angle appearance, at first she had mocked Homan, saying, maybe she's going to be in trouble now. Maybe he can learn to read. The Constitution would be a good place to start. Which, of course, caused Homan to cry.
First of all, I think she's, I won't go after her on
Tom,
national
please
TV
do. Please do.
she
Say
don't-
what's
she
on your
don't deserve-
mind. It's a holiday.
Look, she's the dumbest congresswoman ever elected to Congress, and she proves that every day. And look, bottom line is, I can't believe any member of Congress, Republican, Democrat, Independent, would want to educate criminal illegal aliens who are in the country illegally, been convicted of a violent crime, and have been ordered removed by an immigration judge after due process at great taxpayer expense. You got a congressman or congresswoman that does not want ICE to do the job that Congress has mandated them to do and funds them to do.
Oh, Fascias is sad. That mean old AOC is making it real hard for me to do my job. You know what? She's so dumb. So dumb. Showing people the Constitution. Boo. She's running circles around his dumb ass. Which is why he's going around crying on right-wing media about AOC. And specifically, also while lying about immigrants, too. Look, Tom Homan is a bit of an embarrassment, okay? This guy, tries so hard, I'm such a tough guy. He got nothing. Running to the DOJ and being like, we gotta go after AOC. I gotta see if, she did a crime. Impeachment, you're impeding me. In fact, on X, AOC replied to him calling her dumb by saying this: that's why you fight these cowards. The moment you stand up to them, they crumble. Homan has nothing. He can threaten me with jail and call names all he wants. He's got nothing else. You know what's funny? There are plenty of examples, good examples of dumb Congress people. Okay, Lauren Boebert, for one of them. Okay,
a teleprompter properly.
Okay, and then of course Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Jewish space lasers.
Yeah. So I mean,
Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police.
this is not subjective opinion here. Okay, this is literally them, and we've all seen these congressional hearings, right? Not knowing basic things about how government works or governance at all. Okay, but no, they're smart. AOC dumb. Please stop telling people that they have constitutional rights. Really? Look, all these so-called constitutional conservatives have obviously never read it. It's like those evangelicals that actually never read the Bible either. They don't know what's in it, and they continuously embarrass themselves along with the rest of the country every single day. So yeah, Homan, go ahead and keep threatening AOC, but there ain't nothing you can do to her. Go woke, go broke? Maybe not. Turns out that a sizable chunk of American shoppers are changing their spending habits as a result of politics, specifically targeting outlets that have been cozying up with the Trump administration. Oops. Now, this is according to a poll exclusively shared with The Guardian, about a quarter of all shoppers have decided to stop shopping at their favorite stores as a result of their politics. Now, specifically in response to getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. And of course, not standing up to protect the LGBTQ plus community. Now, in addition, 4 out of 10 Americans have reported shifting their spending over the last few months to align with their moral views, according to a Harris poll, okay, shared with The Guardian. Now, 31% of Americans reported having no interest in supporting the economy this year. That's almost a third, okay? A sentiment especially felt by younger Gen Z, 37%, Black, 41%, white, 28%, and Democratic consumers, 35% versus 29% of independents and 28% of Republicans. Of that quarter of respondents that stopped shopping at certain stores, that broke down to Black people, 35%, Gen Z, 32%, and Democratic voters, 31%. So, fascinating. But there's more. More Democrats, about 50%, indicated that they were changing their spending habits compared with Republicans, 41%, and independents, 40%. Democrats were also more likely to say that they stopped shopping at companies that have opposing political views to their own. 45% of Democrats indicated so, compared with 34% of Republicans. So here comes the anti-woke backlash. Okay. Yes. Go anti-woke. Go broke. The wokers. Wait, what?
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Now it turns out canceling the anti-woke. Okay. Now, one example, by the way, is Target. Okay. Now, in January, Target announced that it was ending some of its diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, including a program that actually helped the company carry more Black and minority-owned brands in its stores, saying that it was trying to, quote, stay more in step with the evolving external landscape. So that is some nice corporate speak of, I don't want to make Trump mad because he hates DEI, right? And so, oh look, we're gonna make the Chuds happy. We're gonna make King Chud happy by getting rid of diversity. Okay. Now that of course got some backlash from Twin Cities Pride, which is the organization that runs the annual Pride Festival in Minneapolis, Minnesota. What does that matter? Well, that happens to be the headquarters of Target. Okay. Now, as a result of the company's announcement, they had dropped Target as a sponsor because, well, I mean, hey, consequences. Okay. You want to drop DEI? I'm going to drop you. Andy Otto, executive director of Twin Cities Pride, told Minneapolis Star Tribune in January that, quote, what is more important is that we send the message that that companies do the right thing. Now, look, I'm not a believer that, companies are going to do the right thing because they're moral. No. When companies do the right thing, it's always because of money, right? And it reflects the cultural trends. And so, for a while, being inclusive and pro-LGBTQ was part of the cultural trend. And as such, it made them money to be more inclusive. But now there's been a right-wing cultural backlash, okay? And that's thanks in large part, I should say, to right-wing media constantly amplifying BS stories and straight-up lies about trans people, gay people, etc., right? Now, as a result, though, these companies faced boycotts from the fringe right. They lost money. But now it looks like the pendulum swinging the other way, and they're getting pressure from the left. How much that will accomplish, I can't entirely say. But at the same time, I still think it's there's value in voting with your wallet. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Well, again, you're showing this company that you don't want to do business with them might make them reconsider. And one example that we could use to show that is a nationwide economic blackout. Okay, so now there happens to be a group called the People's Union USA that has been promoting this on February 28th. They said, hey, look, don't buy anything. Just don't do business. Okay. Send them a message by just not buying anything. All right. And if you do have to buy something, then go to a small business. Don't support places like Target, Walmart, Amazon, etc. Right. In fact, the group wrote on its website, if we disrupt the economy for just one day, it sends a powerful message. The People's Union is not just about resisting corruption, it is about exposing it. For decades, corporations, politicians, and industries have worked together to rig the system against the American people. So, yeah, this time would be a good time. Now, Kevin Thompson, a finance expert and founder CEO of the 9i Capital Group, told Newsweek about this, quote, the retailer boycott and economic blackout are centered around major retailers like Walmart, Best Buy, and Target, which are perceived as aligning with the current administration's policies. The immediate financial impact of a single-day boycott is likely to be minimal, as consumers may compensate by purchasing more in the days before or after. However, the significance lies in the message rather than the actual financial loss. So, yes, not buying anything on that day does send a message. We're not interested. Okay, adjust course. All right. I don't know how effective that will be. I guess it really, if you want it to be effective, you got to have a lot of people that are involved. Okay. It has to be a lot. Okay. Now, that said, getting back to the Harris poll, right? It also found that a third of all Americans, about 36%, have been trying to just opt out of the economy, not get involved at all. Huh. So that's interesting. I don't know. Everything's too political. I can't make up my mind. I'm just going to opt out. Okay, well, sure, if that's what you want. But here's the thing, though. I'm actually in favor of that because it kind of shows our real power, okay? Our power as consumers is huge. And not only that, but also our power as laborers, okay? So that's the only real leverage we have on the political system is our labor and our money, okay? So, and I think that these companies will respond to the withholding of both. Because at the end of the day, they rely on us. And so if enough of us send a message, then hopefully we can start to make a change. The frontman of British rock band Placebo has been charged by an Italian court with defaming their leader by calling her a fascist. Now, the band, as I mentioned, is Placebo. Their frontman, Brian Molko, was sued by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni after he referred to her as a POS fascist racist while performing at a festival in Turin in 2023. I fail to see the problem here. Okay, but apparently she was not thrilled. Okay, and so she went on to prove that she is not a fascist by doing fascist things, by sicking the cops on someone for expressing an opinion. Okay, on Monday, Italy's justice ministry allowed prosecutors in Turin to move forward with legal proceedings. That's right. Defaming the Italian government, parliament, courts, or army can carry a fine of up to 5,000 euros and a direct summons to trial. Yeah, I'm going to go to trial. Oh, I'm not done. Public defamation in Italy can also carry a prison term of up to 3 years. So you make fun or you say something that an Italian politician does not like. Oh boy, you're in for it now. Oh boy. Now, a spokesperson for Justice Minister Carlo Nordio has said that Molko is unlikely to receive a custodial sentence. yeah, we're not going to put him in prison, but you know, we are trying to crush speech and dissent. So, you know, because we're totally not racist or fascist. Okay. No, we're not any of those things. Really, strange way of proving it. Now, a spokesman for the band was like, no comment. Okay, interesting. Now, Maloney, of course, leads the Nationalist Brothers of Italy party and a hard-right coalition that has led the country since 2022. So this is part of the right-wing, you know, takeover of Europe, which, lovely, right? Since coming into power, they went super hard right on immigration, abortion, same-sex parenting, and even banned surrogacy. Yes, surrogacy. Along with that, okay, they went after people who left the country to go and be surrogate parents. Okay, they called them terrorists. Oh, you're a terrorist. You're pushing the gay and transgender. Wait a minute. Hold on here. That ignores the fact that 9 out of 10 of the 250 Italian couples who sought surrogacy overseas are actually straight and cisgender. That's how many do it every year. Okay? These are for couples who are having difficulty conceiving on their own and instead choose a surrogate. Okay? It doesn't matter, though, like what the facts are. This is the brain rot that the right wing has. They're like, oh, we're for freedom. And then immediately start slapping people with morality policing. Okay? That's what they're doing. But what always gets me about the right wing is how much they hate it when people criticize them. And not just like, oh, I don't like this, right? So like a left-wing person gets criticized, and it's like, man, that sucks. I do not like the things that you were saying right now. I guess I will have to move on, right? But like, criticize a right-winger, and immediately they're like, oh, we're going to sue you, and we're going to put you in prison, we're going to do all this stuff. But we're the party of free speech and freedom, by the way. Yeah, BS. Now, in May, philosopher Donatella Di Cesare, who was being sued by Maloney's brother-in-law for comparing one of his speeches to Mein Kampf, right, claimed that her government was strategically using defamation suits to silence public intellectuals. And I cannot see any lies there, okay? Maloney's first year in office recorded the highest number of lawsuits against public participation, according to the European Parliament's Civil Liberties Committee. Proving my point. They don't care about free speech. Okay, they cannot handle being criticized. They cannot handle being called out for what they are, which is fascists. Okay, and look, I understand that free speech doesn't work the same way in Europe that it does in the United States. Okay, but from my perspective in the United States, there's a lot of right-wingers in the U.S. that love Maloney, and they love the far right in Europe. And yet they're claiming, oh, we got free speech. We love free speech. Oh, wow, free speech, free speech, free speech, free speech. And they're supporting people like Maloney, right? And they're supporting, like Elon Musk, for example, is promoting the AfD, the alternative for Deutschland or whatever, the German neo-fascist party, okay? These are the people that claim to be in favor of free speech that also love to sue, people who dare to criticize them. And I think that if they were allowed to here in the United States, they would. They would. And like people like Maloney, by the way, Maloney herself was literally at Donald Trump's inauguration along with other right-wing leaders. And of course, they look to Viktor Orban of Hungary as, a leader that they want to emulate. So this is who the right wing is. Okay. I mean, they hate free speech. They hate freedom. Okay. And it's always the same thing. As soon as they get into power, it's free speech for me, but not for thee. Because that's the way they've always been. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.